I have 4 interesting conifers, and this one and this one are both the same. And if you want to know, the botanical name is Abies, or Abies, some people pronounce it. Abies Lasiocarpa Kenwith Blue. So this grows in a conical shape, and some people love this blue color. But in bonsai outside Japan, not many people like the blue color. It's not a popular color with traditional bonsai. But out in the West, say America and all different places, blue seems to be becoming quite a popular color. Now, these you can buy in nurseries, but increasingly, very few specialist garden centers and nurseries exist anymore. There was a time when there used to be specialist dwarf conifer nurseries that sold nothing but dwarf conifers. That means conifers that don't grow very big. But nowadays, these nurseries are few and far between. Garden centers only sell small conifers and just the common ones. So these unusual conifers are a rarity. I happen to come across these trees, and whenever I come across them, I buy them, not so much to grow them as garden trees, but as stock material for plants. I really should grow them in my garden as conifers because they're extremely rare trees. So I'll tell you why I bought these. I hadn't decided whether to make it into a bonsai or not. So that is that one. And then these are different ones. This is, I can't even read the label, but the label is lost. This again is probably an Abies of some kind, but it's a greener one. And at first glance, it looks almost an instant bonsai. So I've got to assess each and every tree to see what I can do with them. Very often, in bonsai, as in life, you should come to a decision which is not always in the immediate term, but you're looking to the future. And in bonsai, because bonsai requires patience and a lot of time involvement in it, it doesn't always follow that you've got to turn everything into bonsai straight away. Anyone who buys these would be raring to go. I'm almost tempted to have a go straight away and see what happens to this tree. But let me look at each of these trees in turn and show you how my mind thinks. The first thing I look at conifers when I have them is to see the potential of the trunk. If we come close, I can't take it out of the pot, but if you look closely, there is a graft. Because these are named varieties of conifers are invariably grafted, because if you propagate them from cuttings or even air layering, they don't come true to type. So I noticed that on all these conifers, the graft is not what a bonsai person would like. You see, it's almost like a big lump on top of a small base. Most unusual. So if you wanted to use a bonsai weed, you have to disguise the base and plant it deeper, and hopefully roots will come from there. But that is a fault. If I look at this one, that's even worse. Look at that one. How odd is that? That you couldn't use for bonsai like that. That is obviously a defect. So I would have to hide it and mount the soil up so that you don't see that part. This one also is a grafted tree, but this one I don't think is that bad. Where I can get it out, I'll get it out. These have been growing in the pots for about the last 10 years. Now look at that one. This again is a grafted tree. You can see where the graft is made over there, but the transition is very good. Transition is very, very good. Now this is a much smaller scale and a very slow growing tree. So this one, almost crying out for immediate treatment to make it into a bonsai. So this one I could probably make into a bonsai, because if I just show you each of these in turn, let's not get distracted by them. Let's look at this one first. if we look at this one, you can see the line straight away. Whenever you buy raw material, this is what we call raw material, you always look at the line. And although it's growing straight, there is a potential line here. This, by the way, is Picea pungens oldenbury. Okay, so there is a line coming this way. You don't realize how important this bag trick is. Even I use it all the time. I use it all the time, not just to teach, but also for my own purposes. So just by doing this, I can see that I got a nice bonsai there. Can you see the line? Like that way, and then going back this way, and then bringing it back on itself like that. I could make it into a very credible bonsai. So this is possible because the graft is very good. It's not an ugly graft. I would get an instant bonsai like that. And because if you let too many branches grow from one spot, you could get inverse taper, I would in fact take that off. The other option is, of course, to grow a taller tree and not use such a severe bend and grow it in a taller tree. So there are different options to this tree. So this tree could be either with this as the leader or with that as the leader. So this has got different options. I'll work on this on another occasion, but it's just to show you my thought process, what goes through my mind when I see material like that. So that one I could make it into an instant bonsai. If I grew it for another 5 years, which I may not want to do, it will certainly thicken the trunk, and as you get a thicker trunk, it will become more desirable as a more mature bonsai. Now this one, because the trunk is so funny, we can plant it deeper. Again, I will make this into a separate project and do this on another occasion. So this is crying out to be like an S-shaped tree like this, like this, like this, like that. So I may not wait too long with this one. In fact, if I do a little bit of pruning, I can show you the direction I'm hoping to go. I'm going to cut this one off. There may be too many branches. If anyone was good at grafting, they could use this and graft it onto the base of another tree. So you can see the makings of the bonsai already, like that. So I will finish it off on another occasion. That will be the subject of another bonsai video. Just to show you again how I'm thinking. So these two are going to be used for making bonsai straight away. But when I look at these ones, you see the graft again is slightly ugly. And if I leave all these branches here to grow as sacrificials, it will thicken the trunk much more. And for the future, I've got the option of making a tree from this part or from that part. So how interesting is this one? This is quite interesting. This is quite interesting. So there are many options for this tree. So I may decide to leave this to grow bigger, put it in a larger pot and grow this on, or even plant it in the ground to become a garden tree and then dig it up later. Now this one, if we look at this one, I shouldn't lose the labels because these are all rare conifers. I think these were last potted in August 2019 into these 7.5 liter pots. So they've been here for the last 6 years in this pot. So you see the potential. It's got a nice kink over here. So this could grow up that way. If I wanted to make an instant bonsai, I could do that to show you. Maybe take this one off. These could be sacrificials and keep the tree that tall. So if I do this, so that is the size of the bonsai like that. I'm going to make a bonsai like this. So this might be quite nice. So although I thought of growing it on to become a thicker, larger tree, I might well make this into a bonsai. So we've got possibly 3 trees that we will make into bonsai. And this one I will probably grow on, plant it in the ground, or make it a bigger tree. But the point I'm trying to convey in this video is that not all trees need to be worked on straight away. It so happens that I decided to work on these, but if you wanted a thicker trunk, you can certainly work on these and make it bigger. All right, so there you go. The next video will be the follow-up on this, when we will make bonsai from each of these. So we were looking at these 4 conifers the other day, and we couldn't decide what to do. I had half a mind to let them grow on as bigger trees, but I sometimes have to ask myself whether I should allow my own preferences to dictate what could be good for the viewers and good for the trees. So it's all very well to let them grow big, but there are several constraints. This I could grow on for another 5 years. 5 years is a long time to wait for me. So I'm not sure if I want to wait 5 years to develop this tree. This tree is at the moment about 1¼ inch in diameter at the base. If I grew it another 5 years, it may double in thickness. If I grew it in the ground, it might even get bigger. So would I want to do that? But looking at the tree again, I can see that I can almost get an instant effect by chopping the top off and making a bonsai. So this probably I may change my mind and make it into a bonsai straight away. Now when it comes to this one, again, because the graft is a bit ugly, if I can remind you, if it can come close, you can see there's such a ugly, almost looks like a mushroom over there. That's a very bad graft. We'll have to go here to get new surface roots. And I can use this as a sacrificial, and the trunk hasn't got much character to it, so I might as well grow this into a bigger tree. So this is not going to be converted into a bonsai. So this, I've solved this one. So this is an easy decision to make. When it comes to this one, again, I have a difficult choice. Again, if we remind you of what the defect is, look at that very ugly graft. That is an extremely ugly joint over there, and I would have to pile the soil up here and get a better bonsai. And then the leaves, the needles are much too large for the scale of the trunk as it is. I know I could use small branches like this, but would it look a credible bonsai? I think not. I could partially train it to direct it into the future direction or the style I want to make the tree into. But apart from that, I won't spend my time in trying to do a finished bonsai with this. So this decision is taken for me. So I'll partly train that one. When it comes to this one has got small needles, and this may be an easier tree to deal with. If we look at it, when I say it's easier, I'm going to use thin branches, because if you use thin branches, just to remind you, it gives a better scale for the trunk. It may make the trunk look thicker, whereas if I use only the big branches, the effect may not be so good. So let's see, this could be made into an instant bonsai. So I may work on this. So I have 2 trees on which to work on. So let's fire straight away. Okay, now the easy one first. This one, I said I'm going to grow on, but I'm going to style it meanwhile so that the future direction of the tree is more or less sorted out at this point in time. So all I'm going to do is redirect the leader so that it will be growing in the correct direction that I want it to grow, and everything else will be sacrificial branches. So this is only very rough wiring, just to make the tree grow in the direction I want it to go for making bonsai. So I could even plant it in the ground to make it grow in that way. So let's take that off. So this is going to go upwards like that. I don't want too many branches growing from one point, because as I reminded you, if you get too many branches growing from one point, you can get inverse taper from that part of the tree. So I've got to watch that carefully. So that is all I'm going to do. You can see the structure I've formed. Can you see the structure like that? Like the S shape, that's a beautiful S shape like that. So that is how I will leave the tree, nothing more than that. So it's looking like a bonsai because all the movement and direction for the style of the tree has been sorted out, and that is how I'm going to leave it. I could plant it in a much larger container to help it thicken much faster, and that's all I'm going to do with that one. Okay, so second tree out of the way. Now let's look at this one. This, the more I look at it, the more I'm inclined to make this into an instant bonsai because there is a lot of interest in this tree. Again, how do I choose the front? I choose the front where it has the most interesting line. If I look at it like that, it's dead straight. There's no movement in the line. Whereas if I look at it like this way, see, that is a beautiful curve. And I use one of these as the leader, that will become a nice tree and a nice scale. This is much too tall. If you keep a bonsai that tall, you need a trunk about that thick, about 4 or 5 times the present thickness. Whereas I keep it short like this, it is much more to scale. So let's try the bag trick again. So if we use the white bag trick, handkerchief trick, or whatever you call it. So this is how the bonsai will look, like that, this high. Okay, so if we've decided on that, why waste time? Let me get the lopper or the silky saw. In creating bonsai, the decisions are the most difficult part. Once you've decided on something, the rest is easy. So having grown this tree to about 1 meter tall, what am I doing? I'm cutting it down to about maybe 40 centimeter. Off it goes. These could become very nice Christmas trees. Look at it, lovely color. Okay, so let's apply a couple of branches and see what happens when I do that. So I'm going to use 3 millimeter wire. So remember, the more you work on trees, the more you will be able to judge what gauge or thickness of wire to use. No hard and fast formula. Also, the other little tip I would give you, if you come close, I'm going to put wire on these two. So these needles, like pine needles, after all it's a conifer, because I'm going to wire on top of it, you might as well remove these needles. Makes it easier to wire. Don't have to, but it makes it easier to wire. Okay, so still looking at this, the front, look at it. Straight away, it looks like a bonsai. So let's put a couple of pairs of wires on this and see what happens. When I apply wire, I usually go around the trunk to make it more stable. While I'm doing this video, thank you to all our viewers for helping us reach 500,000 subscribers. Today is I think it's the 10th of September. Yesterday, the 9th of September, we reached 500,000 subscribers. How good is that? Then another piece of wire for the one at the back. Now the one at the back I don't really need. Again, if you come close with the camera, you see I've left a little stub there. These little points of detail I like to show. If I cut it close to there, it may die back further. So I always leave a little stub for it to die back naturally there. So there's method in what I do, method in my madness. See, I leave that to die back here. I don't cut it flush there. You can cut it, you may get away with it, but just to be on the safe side, I leave a little bit proud there. And this one, it caused a bit of inverse taper in years to come, but I'm not too worried. I want to keep this branch because it helps to pull the sap up. If you cut everything off there, you may not get the branches to pull sap. So keeping it there helps to maintain that as a healthy part of the tree. I don't need it, but I'm going to keep it just to help pull the sap. These little points many people do instinctively without explaining the reason why, but there's always a reason for doing everything. I must say, the more I look at this tree, the more I like the blue color of the foliage. It's a lovely color. I'm going to remove this branch. Hope that will grow. That's a nice branch going up that way and coming back. These I could leave as sacrificial should I want to, but let me see. I'll decide in a minute. Won't decide straight away. But these conifers grow pretty rapidly. Those of you who've grown Christmas trees will know that Christmas trees are seldom more than 5 or 10 years old. And looking at the rings, I can count the rings. This thick branch, which is thumb thick, has only got like 3 rings on it. So this part is only 3 years old. So you see how fast they grow. It looks juvenile. You see, it's still got needles on this branch there. So it's a very rapid grower. So I may not have to wait that long for it to thicken. So let me get rid of these. I don't think I need it. Let's get more of an instant effect. and then do a little more here. I really am surprised how quickly the shape is coming. I've only put 3 pieces of wire, in fact 2, because this is a double wire here. And without doing much more, it's already looking fairly credible as a bonsai. I just refine the wiring a little more. I'll put it in a plastic bonsai training pot, and we see how that looks. So if you come close, you see from here looking down, look at that. That's a very credible bonsai. That 2 branches here, it's not out of place, it's unusual, it fills the space. So I'll refine the wiring and put it in a bonsai training pot and show it to you again. So this one's finished.